along with an interest in child-parent ties. While in London, Ainsworth learned about the power of controlled observation in real-life situations from the work of James Robertson. In the 1950s, parents were allowed to see their hospitalized children only during brief visiting hours. James Robertson filmed the hour-by-hour reactions of a 2-year-old in a hospital separated from her parents. This film helped Ainsworth learn about the power of filmed observation, which could be shared with other people. After days of distress in the hospital, this child, who had had a minor operation, seemed strangely detached from the overtures of her parents. Ainsworth would find a similar reaction in some of the babies in her strange situation study after a brief separation. In 1954, Ainsworth gave up her London job with John Bowlby to once more accompany her husband, this time to Uganda in East Africa, where he had taken a university teaching position. With no job awaiting her, the always resourceful and energetic Ainsworth decided to do a research project. She had been told that Ganda babies were physically separated from their mothers for weaning, and she was interested in the emotional consequences of that practice. She soon discovered, however, that this abrupt weaning was not customary. However, her observations of the interactions that did occur between the baby and mother provided insights into the nature and development of infant-mother attachments. With Katie Kabuka, acknowledged by Ainsworth as interpreter, research assistant, and friend, Ainsworth observed the interactions of 28 infants and their mothers over a 9-month period as they went about their normal days. In these sessions, Ainsworth developed techniques for making systematic observations and honed her own skills in taking meticulous notes of real-life interactions. Ainsworth strongly felt that observing and describing behavior in natural situations was crucial to the science of psychology. It was only after months of observing these mothers and babies that she began to identify the complex patterns into which their behaviors were organized. Perhaps the 3 most important things to emerge from the Uganda study were, first, that she was able to identify a number of important attachment behaviors. Second, she discovered that babies go through a number of phases in developing their attachments during the first year of life. And third, she began to understand how some patterns of parenting lead to secure attachments, while others lead to insecure or anxious attachments. In 1955, the Ainsworths came to Baltimore, Maryland, where Len had procured a job. Again, it was up to Mary Ainsworth to seek employment on the spot. She combined a private practice in psychological assessment with an instructor's position at Johns Hopkins University. The first years in Baltimore were personally distressing for Ainsworth. Her marriage failed, and she was also disappointed professionally with the low prestige and salary of the work she had cobbled together. Women were not yet seen as professional equals at most universities. But despite her period of unhappiness, Ainsworth completed the enormous job of organizing her Uganda notes into her first book. She also eventually got her proper academic appointment and salary, and started her now famous Baltimore study. In this, her best-known work, she and her students observed 26 middle-class babies and their mothers in their homes. 4-hour visits were made at 3-week intervals from age 3 weeks to 54 weeks, and during each visit, we took these extensive notes. In the home, the observer concentrated on interactions between the mother and baby, which included infant crying and maternal responsiveness to the cry, episodes of close bodily contact, face-to-face encounters, separation and reunion behaviors, and examples of infant cooperation or disobedience. For instance, a report from a visit like this would read something like the following. Father bends over, kisses baby, mom sitting nearby, dad stands, baby fusses, looks at mom, combines a fuss and a cry, and holds her own hands as she watches dad going toward the door. Starts a true cry now, puts head down on the windowsill. Mom vocalizes in sympathy. Baby watching out the window.
Hey, Caroline, let's go wipe the floor.
Mom vocalizes, "Hey, Caroline, let's go wipe the floor." This is one of baby's fun activities. "Here's your rag."
A bowl.
Then Mom gets up and goes to the kitchen.
We're going to wipe the dirt off the kitchen floor.
Baby takes the rag, starts toward the kitchen, becomes distracted by a toy.
Is that pretty typical when Dad leaves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she loves him to pieces.
Yeah.
Mom and I talk. Baby wanders toward the kitchen.
She also just doesn't like.
Each visit in the 1960s Baltimore study resulted in an approximately 20-page report that detailed the behaviors of the child and the caregiver as they occurred, marked off in 5-minute intervals. These home visits garnered tremendous amounts of data that took several years to organize, code, and analyze. Because in the process of carefully and repeatedly reviewing her notes from her Uganda observations and the new, more elaborate Baltimore ones, Ainsworth realized that she was seeing patterns of infant and parent behavior that made sense in terms of Bowlby's developing attachment theory. With this work, Ainsworth and Bowlby began writing each other with increased frequency and excitement and cemented a professional partnership that was to last the remainder of their lives.